got them from the safe.
And your understanding from who?
Baker got them from the safe.
How'd you know that?
He,
Objection, can you order?
I'll allow this question.
when I got dropped off at the airport, he put coins in my pocket. If anybody asks, tell them you got them from me. I had regurgitated that to tell them, but I had never actually seen Baker collect any gold coins. And then I had remembered that he said he's gonna get her to leave the safe open, or she's gonna leave the safe open, or he knew the code, something along those lines. And that's when I remembered that he more than likely got them from the safe. It was a roll of gold coins in a stack.
That's what you remember?
That's what I'm telling you.
Why didn't you tell it to them when they asked you originally, where did you get the gold coins
They
from?
were trying to get me there. Listen, that happened a long time ago.
Okay. You asked if you've ever seen him with gold coins before. That's an odd kind of way of making payments, and you said no. Right? Before that, you said you don't know where they came from. Then they say, so you don't know if he got them from the safe, from his house? And you say, but now that you're saying it, yeah, I probably got them from Fabio's house, and I was wrong. Remember that?
I told them I was wrong. Yes,
And you told them you were wrong because
I was wrong.
they were making it clear to you that just saying you
was
got
wrong.
him from, hold on, just getting him from Baker wasn't enough. They wanted you to say it came from Fabio's house, and you told them that, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Now, previously you had said that there was no discussion of you getting any money until the day of the incident, right? Remember saying that?
Yes, sir.
Is that the truth?
No, sir.
Previously you had said that you had gone up there to rough him up. Was that the truth?
Counsel, you've been through it.
You remember when you were meeting with Miss Stagel in Vancouver? We're set to go to trial, and it's Monica. We're putting all together. You've added some information we may know, but we don't know for sure. We'll see the value that you've added. We'll see.
Objection.
You put it that way.
I'm sorry?
Hearsay and key order.
Sustained?
You've added value, that goes a long way. Again, not a
Same
promise,
objection.
but it does.
Sustained.
Mr. Austin, let me go on to another few points here, okay? Did you previously say before your testimony today that the insurance came up in conversations with Baker prior to flying to LA, that you were to receive insurance money?
I knew it.
Objection, can you order?
I'll allow this question.
I knew it was going to be involved in some way, shape, or form.
Prior to leaving to go to LA. Right? Isn't that what you said?
Yes, sir.
That's when you were told about the possibility of getting some insurance. Correct?
He said some money, but yeah.
That's correct, correct?
Yes, sir.
And how long was it before you left for LA? Same day or on the flight or before or what?
What are you asking me?
Well, before you left for LA, you knew you were coming down to LA, right?
Yes, sir.
He told you that, what, a week before or 2 weeks before? It was your birthday?
He asked me to fly down on my birthday weekend.
Okay. And that's when he told you about the insurance money. Right? What I just read to you.
Yes.
Okay. And that's what you've testified here and yesterday, that you found out then about the insurance money when you were flying down to LA.
So objection cumulative then.
Sustained.
And then you came to LA and then, as you said, you were paid with the gold coins,
Objection
right?
cumulative.
It's just, did you ever get any other money from Mr. Baker?
No, sir, I did not.
Did you ever get anything else other than those gold coins?
I did.
You did? Mm-hmm. What?
A mental complex of suicidal ideation.
What?
A mental complex of suicidal ideation.
A mental complex to suicide ideation? I didn't understand that.
I was suicidal after that.
And? Oh, you're saying that's what you got out of it?
Yeah, that's what I got out of it.
Okay. You testified to that yesterday, and you've told us how horrible you felt about all this. And you were going to commit suicide and all the rest, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Obviously, you didn't commit suicide. Obviously, you spent the money on the coins, and obviously, you never turned in your co-conspirators, you say were your co-conspirators, until you met with your lawyer here in Los Angeles. Isn't that right?
Argumentative.
Sustained.
All right, so Baker's his guy. Baker's the guy paying him in gold coins, too. Let that sink in. How many hitmen do you know that receive their payment by way of gold coins? But he did, and he never spoke directly to Monica Sementilli. Doesn't mean the state still can't link her to the crime she's been charged with. They sure can. But it is a helpful fact the defense can exploit here. What do you think of this cross? Is he doing a good job? Let's bring in our trial attorney analyst guest, Cannon Kearney, watching along from New York this morning. Cannon, good morning. What do you think of this cross-examination? Do you like it? Do you not like it? What's it doing for you, if anything, please?
Well, good morning, Julie. Happy to be here today. Based on what I'm seeing with the cross, I think he's doing a good job. There are some things like, as I can't see the attorney, I can hear him rattling his papers. So that could, in some form or fashion, make a juror distracted. And obviously the purpose of this is to inform the jury of why this individual is not being truthful. So maybe he could be a little bit more on point with his papers or whatever he's looking at. As to the actual substance of the questions that he's asking the witness, I believe he's doing a good job of showing that this is not a credible person. I believe he's doing a good job of showing that this gentleman has changed his story many times, specifically when he's amongst attorneys or law enforcement. So I do think that he's bringing out good facts, and he's also having the witness to say that he has changed his story, which again, a juror can now say or rest on the fact that he's not credible and that we can't believe anything that this witness is saying.
Yeah, so well said, Cannon. You hit the nail right on the head. This is about making this guy look like a liar, making him look greedy and willing to, do anything for some gold coins. And we know that he did this murder. We're going to see more of the cross-examination. It is not done. Let's see where else defense counsel goes right after this break. We're so glad you're with us on this Friday morning.
An Iowa man is found unconscious after crashing his car. He asked police to check on his girlfriend, recalling flashes of violence. Now he's on trial for her brutal murder.
The Visions of Violence murder trial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
This stuff about playing a race card is preposterous.
The racial division was so great that people saw the facts differently.
Trial and Error. Why did O.J. win? New episode Sunday night, 8 Eastern and Pacific. Only on Court TV.
The undercover agent, what else did you tell him?
I told him some money is supposed to be involved. She was supposed to get a lot of money if we did it. Baker told me she's loaded, she wants him gone, she's gonna get paid.
That is the hitman, the man who murdered Fabio Sementilli, famous hairstylist in Los Angeles, California, murdered in his own backyard. Outside, enjoying the day, watching TV, just total peacefulness, and his life was taken in such a brutal way. The person that hired the hitman is Fabio's wife's lover. His name is Robert Baker, and we may see him come in as a witness for the defense. The state is relying on the testimony of this guy, Christopher Austin. Let's go back in and hear more of his cross-examination.
Do you remember something happening as you were driving up the driveway or running up the driveway to get to the Sementilli house? Do you remember that? Something about having to hurry?
I don't understand.
Okay, you run up the driveway, as we saw in the video, with your mask and hoodie and covered up with Mr. Baker running up the street to get to the house, right?
Yes, sir.
And you go right to the front door and get into the house, and that's when it's 1, 2, 3, go, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did Mr. Baker say anything to you about why you had to hurry to do this?
I love this.
He said we only have a small window.
He said you had a small window. Did he tell you why you had a small window?
Same.
Did he?
Sustain the objection.
Oh, it's the same. Did he tell you at that time that Monica was at Target and she would be coming home and you had to finish that before she got home?
Said she was at the store.
At the store. He didn't say Target.
He said this prior to us even going.
Okay, and he said she was at the store and you had to get this done before she got back from the store, right?
She's gonna go to the store. We only have a small window. We have to go now. Put this on. We went. He put me in the trunk. He drove there. I was in the trunk for a little bit. He opened the trunk. He ran up the hill. He said, "You with me?" And I didn't say anything. And he started jogging, and I was lagged behind him. Then when we got to the house, he said he should be on the patio. The front door was open, and that's when everything happened.
Okay, you've told us that before. I appreciate that. My question is, he had told you sometime while you were jogging up or in the car or when you got there, you had a small window because she was at a store, correct?
Yes.
Well, if she was in on the conspiracy, why couldn't she just have waited at the store longer and given you time to leave?
Sustain.
Texas. Mr. Austin, you were also told as part of your negotiations with the district attorney's office through your attorney, Mr. Aval, you understand he was the one going to be talking to the district attorney's office about a deal after you had your proffer, correct?
Yes, sir.
But while you were there, were you told that if any disposition is offered to you, it'll be, assuming one is, it'll be contingent upon you testifying at any and all court proceedings, whether trial motions and as many
Okay, so now he's getting at what this guy is getting in exchange for his testimony. It may be nothing, right? We're going to hear it all coming up next. We are so grateful for your company on this Friday morning. Welcome to Court TV Live. I'm Julie Grant. I want to show you the cases we're tracking for you right now. In Iowa, we've got the Visions of Violence murder trial for Christopher B. Hall. That's set to get underway in just minutes. And in California, we expect the state to rest its case in the celebrity hairstylist murder trial for Monica Sementilli. The star witness is where the jury had their eyes focused all week long, and we're revisiting the most key parts of his testimony this hour. Here's more on Cross from hitman Christopher Austin.
Involved in the conspiracy, as we're able to verify and put together. You understand that? They asked you that. Did you understand that?
Yes, sir.
In other words, you were naming throughout your interview that someone who was conspiring with you and Mr. Baker to kill Fabio Sementilli was Alfred Birdsong, right?
Say that again, please.
Didn't you tell them, without going through all the transcripts, that every time there were conversations between you and Birdsong, you and Baker, they were usually three-way conversations, and Birdsong was on the other end, right?
Yes, sir.
And he was intimately involved in the planning of this murder. Isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
Now, Miss Sementilli was never on those calls, was she?
Objection, cumulative.
Sustained.
And you never met her at all in Las Vegas in July, as previously stated. Isn't that correct?
Objection, cumulative.
Sustained.
So any three-way calls were always just between you and Baker and Birdsong, correct?
Objection, cumulative.
Sustained.
When they advised you about having to testify in any other proceedings, was that explained to you by Mr. Aval, or did the prosecution explain to you what that meant?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Let me read the language again.
Counsel, what page?
I'm sorry, it's page 48 of the Profer, number 1, lines 10 to 18.
Wait a second. Lines what?
10 to 18?
This is objection. I'm going to object to cumulative again.
I love this.
May I show it to him? Forget the underlining. Could you read to yourself line 10? If you want, you can start at line 9. I'm sorry.
I don't think what we're saying. This is the best way to cause harm to the victim. Oh, that's page 48.
If I said 51, I'm sorry. I thought it said page 48. Did the reporter read it back? No, I You got it now?
I'm still objecting, it's cumulative, but
I already ruled.
All right, Mr. Austin, let's try it again. Can you read, why don't you read from lines 8 to 18 to yourself? I'm sorry, I keep forgetting these.
It's okay.
Okay, does that refresh your memory as to what you were told by the prosecutors on the first day of the proffer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm not going to ask you to read it verbatim. If it's okay, I'm going to ask you, did they tell you, well, before then, you said you're trying to remember, and they said, you said, I'm trying to remember, so forgive me. You were talking about other things, correct?
Yes, sir.
So throughout your proffer, you forgot things and they reminded you, and then you said, I'm trying to remember. Right? That first statement?
Yes, sir.
Were you trying to remember what they wanted you to say?
No, sir.
Okay. So let's go to this. No, there's nothing to forgive. There's no apology needed. I just wanted to put that on the record.
I'm gonna object to reading.
Oh, this it was done before.
I'll also want to put on the record, since we're getting into it now, other individuals besides Monica Sementilli and Robert Baker, that if any disposition is offered to you, you know that means a plea negotiation, a deal, right?
Yes, sir.
If any disposition is offered to you, it will be assuming a disposition is offered, so you knew it didn't have to be, right?
Yes, sir.
It will be contingent upon you testifying at any and all court proceedings, whether it's trial, motions, on as many individuals as are involved in the conspiracy that we're able to verify and put together. You understand that, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you said, yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir, I did.
And how did you understand that? What did you understand that to mean?
That they were going to ask about other names.
Like Mr. Birdsong?
That was one of them.
Well, he was the one who was involved in the conspiracy to kill Fabio Sementilli along with you and Robert Baker, correct?
Yes, sir.
Didn't you tell them throughout your proffer on 2 days that he was in on all the phone calls, he was in on the planning, correct?
I told them, I believe I remember hearing him on the three-way calls. Yes, sir.
He was telling you about whether you should use a knife or a gun, remember?
That was a conversation amongst Baker and Birdsong that I was in.
And you?
Yes.
And how to do it quickly and whether you could do it quickly, remember?
Objection cumulative.
Sustained.
So you understand then that if Mr. Birdsong is ever here, which he's not, you may be called to testify against him like you've been called to testify against Ms. Sementilli. Is that right?
That is my understanding.
But with Mr. Birdsong, you never left anything out when you were talking about him to the detectives or anyone else. You told them the whole truth from the beginning, right?
No, they asked me if I knew who that was, and I told them yes.
And they asked you more questions about him, correct?
I told them that he knew about it, yes.
Well, I'm not going to go through everything I just said. You told him that he was part of the three-way calls when you were discussing with Baker how to do it. He was part of the planning. He was part of everything, right?
Objection cumulative.
Sustained.
And even after the murder, he kept in touch with you. Isn't that right?
Objection cumulative.
Sustained.
And again, you don't see him here in court, do you?
Objection relevant.
Sustained.
Couple more things and we'll be done, at least on this end, Mr. Austin. What is your state of mind now? What is your testimony now? As you've given it yesterday. Now let me ask you, is it still that you met Monica Sementilli at LA Fitness in July of 2016?
Objection cumulative.
Sustained.
Well, I'd like to, that's just foundational.
Counsel, get to whatever question you want to ask.
And that you met her at LA Fitness in July of last year.
Objection cumulative.
Sustained.
Did you testify or state in the proffer, were you asked, and when, I'm sorry, this is page 60, lines 13 to 24.
All right, so here it's getting sticky, right? Because he has somewhat of, shall we call it, an understanding with the state. We know there was an agreement as to the charge, right? He could have been charged with first-degree murder. They could have absolutely proven that, beyond all doubt. But they reduced it to second degree. So he's looking at 16 years at minimum, life at maximum, but they didn't make an agreement as to sentence with him. They just said, testify truthfully, we'll see how it goes, and then after you give your testimony, we will make our recommendation at that time. So that is standard. For anybody wondering, that's exactly what you want to do when you're a prosecutor, because you don't want to make the deal up front and then the defense attorney can say, well, you were promised this, and then you have to answer truthfully and say, yeah, you were. So let's bring in our trial attorney guest and see how he thinks of this stickiness is being handled and if the deal was appropriate for him. Cannon Kearney, let's walk through this. So we have two people who did this homicide. We got the hitman and we got the lover. And we know the lover has this allegiance, this unwavering allegiance to Monica, his girl. In fact, we think he's going to come in and testify for Monica when the defense case begins. So the DA's office really kind of were stuck with who they were stuck with, don't you think? I mean, you know, reducing the charge, okay, technically they could have proven first degree, but do you think under these circumstances it was fitting to make that amendment and therefore it also drops down the potential sentence that he could get?
Well, that's a great question, Julie. We all know that DAs have the ability to provide these types of tools for co-defendants to be able to get some form of plea deal or plea deal. So based on what I'm seeing, it appears that the prosecution essentially is using this individual to get the information that they couldn't get from the boyfriend. And so the defense is doing a good job of showing that he has this, the witness that we're listening to right now has a real serious bias. He could have been given felony murder. He could have been given first degree murder, but he's now getting second degree with 16 years as a minimum. So he needs to walk through this so that a juror can clearly see that this person is in it to save his own skin, that this witness is here testifying for this reason in order to not be in prison for life without parole. So based on what I'm seeing, the prosecution did what they were supposed to do, but this defense is doing what they're supposed to do as well to show that you might not want to believe this witness because essentially he's only here today saying what he's saying, so he doesn't have life in prison.
Right, Cannon. You know, it's so tricky. You know, it's a bit of a, you know, kind of a fluid dance when you get these cases. I mean, you know how it is. It's often you have to make deals with criminals to prove your cases against other criminals. It's just the way it works. I mean, you know how it is. Sometimes you do get victims who have nothing to do with the system. They haven't done anything wrong. They're truly innocent. But then oftentimes we used to always say, you know, today's witness is tomorrow's defendant. I mean, it's really, so look, they got a hitman on their hands and the case rests on his testimony. Overall, Cannon, how do you think he's done in terms of doing what the state needs him to do in telling the truth about what he did, what he was paid, to do, how he got involved in it? Do you think he's being forthcoming enough for this jury to say, yeah, I believe him, I believe all of his testimony?
I believe there's no way possible that a juror would be able to believe all of his testimony. But what I will say is telling that there's been a lot of objections from the prosecution. Now, that's their job, to be there to ensure that the questions that are asked by the defense are appropriate, are within the rules of evidence. But it's also telling to a juror that if this person continues to object to every single thing that's being said, then this person may have something to hide. This person being the prosecution, because they don't want it to come out that this witness is a liar or that this witness is being untruthful. So I also would say that the defense is doing a good job of asking questions and continuing the pace despite all of these objections. I believe one of the questions that was objected to and actually sustained was, well, if she was a part of the conspiracy, why would she have to come home early? Why wouldn't she just stay at the store? And it was objected and sustained, but to a juror who heard that, they can't unhear that. So that may be telling to them to say, oh, that was a good question.
Oh, I like what you're saying there, Cannon. Yeah, you know how it goes. The objections could really disrupt your flow. They can. They could really throw you off course. So excellent points you're making. Stay with us, kindly, please. We're going to see the rest of the cross when we come back after this break. Thanks for being with us here this morning on Court TV Live.